When I was 10 years old, I went to school with a kid named Manny. This was around the time El Tigre premiered, and I made fun of him because he shared the same name as the title character. In actuality, I was jealous of him and wanted his name, but could you blame me? All I had was Maya and Miguel. El Tigre was Nickelodeon's first Flash animated cartoon created by Sandra Akiwa and Jorge Gutierrez. This show's premise revolved around a superpowered family living in a spicy cesspool of a city filled with crime and villainy. We have Rodolfo Rivera, aka White Pantera, a legendary hero inspired by masked Mexican wrestlers. Puma Loco, an evil supervillain that ranks high on my animated grandpa list. And Manny Rivera, better known as El Tigre! The show mostly follows Manny and his best friend Frida Suarez as they are either influenced to use Manny's powers for good or evil.
Ah, he's such a good boy. Rodolfo! Something's wrong with my golden sombrero, Chaos!
This premise is what separates it from a lot of other animated superhero shows. Manny isn't trying to hide some secret identity. In fact, everyone in the city knows who he is. It's a character-driven show with an emphasis on zany cartoon hijinks and superhero action. The main conflict throughout the series is whether or not Manny will become a hero like his father or a villain like his grandpa. Manny choosing between good or evil parallels co-creator Jorge's childhood. His father was an architect who worked in a brightly lit office where Jorge would see him draw everything from buildings to anything he requested.
Mommy, what are you up to?
Nothing! Helping the poor!
Ah, the poor. Very good. Money!
Ah!
I just spoke to the poor, and you have not been helping them.
His grandfather, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. He worked for the Mexican military in a dark office with guns lined up against the walls.
Grandpappy, do you have any plutonium I can borrow?
Sock drawer!
Jorge idolized both of them, but the rest of his family often asked him whose route he would follow. Sandra's experience parallels Frida's character as she felt like the black sheep of her family, when she was the only artist in a family full of doctors and lawyers. The two artists met at a punk rock concert in Tijuana, Mexico. 2 weeks later, Jorge proposed to her. She obviously said no, but still stayed with him and supported him pursuing his dreams in animation. When Jorge applied to the California Institute of the Arts, he attended Portfolio Day, where he brought his paintings and drawings for review. His drawings were of popular American cartoon characters like The Simpsons and Mickey Mouse, but his paintings were all about life living in Mexico. His portfolio reviewer that day happened to be Jules Engel, an animation veteran who founded the experimental animation program at the school. Going through Jorge's drawings, he commented how they were boring and said nothing about him as an artist. Feeling humiliated, Jorge took his drawings and walked away, but by some miracle left behind his paintings. Jules looked through them and called back Jorge, telling him how these paintings told a story. He told Jorge he needs to find a way to animate these paintings, and he changed his mind about letting Jorge into the school. Going into Cal Arts, Jorge believed he wasn't as talented as the other students, so he swore that he would be the most hardworking out of all of them.
But I will find him. This, I swear!
Dude had just enough money to go for .8 of a school year, and ended up completing 2 years worth of schoolwork in 1 year. At one point, the Mexican government took notice of Jorge's hard work and offered to pay for his master's degree, but only if he promised to continue to uphold Mexican culture and animation. His thesis film was titled Carmelo, and was about the Mexican holiday Dia de los Muertos.
Su público le despidió. El honor más grande que un matador jamás recibió. Tu padre, Carmelo.
Algún día seré un gran matador como mi papá.
It won him several awards and recognition from his peers. But when graduation time came, he began to pitch an idea for a film about the Mexican holiday. He quickly found out that studios didn't want to make movies about dead Mexicans. He ended up making a Flash animated series that he uploaded on the internet titled El Macho.
I tried to be patient, sister, but the rent is over 2 months late.
But, Mr. Dinero, we have nothing.
Okay, grab the orphans.
The story of a masked orphan who refuses to take off his mask for anyone. He ends up defending the kids in the orphanage as a masked superhero. As you can tell, this story was influenced by Jorge's life, especially during this time where studios didn't want to fund any of his Mexican-inspired projects. The success of his online animated series brought him to pitch a show to Nickelodeon, who was interested in his work. With the help of Sandra, the two ended up pitching El Tigre, a show that was based on their lives and experiences. As you can tell, the show takes its inspiration from Mexican folk art and its culture, but not only that, the spaghetti western genre. Surprisingly enough, most of the background characters are references to other existing properties like Scarface, Street Fighter, and mostly just Street Fighter. The show also makes great use of a lot of classic cartoon sound effects.
Senor Chappie!
Work is for suckers. We steal from the supervillains.
I can't imagine being any more proud of you! And now I am!
Being the first Flash animated cartoon on Nick, Sandra and Jorge both got flack from some of the old heads in the studio, who believed drawing on a computer somehow made your cartoon bad. In spite of those naysayers, El Tigre is still one of the best looking cartoons out there, and that's partly because the art style lends itself extremely well to Flash animation. The character design on the show, and especially on some of the supervillains, can be very detailed. It's easier to manipulate existing elements this way rather than to draw them over and over again. The show had an episode titled The Good, The Bad, and The Tigre, where viewers were encouraged to vote for a good or evil ending in the episode.
Papi! Can't! Hold on! He has defeated us! I never believed he'd do this! He destroyed his own family! We are doomed!
I warned you to stay out of my way.
The premise reminded me a lot of the Flash game I used to play online on Nickelodeon's website. Although it was taken off Nick's website years ago, it has been archived online. There were also 2 video games released alongside the show, one of them for the Nintendo DS and another on the PlayStation 2. Both of them look like pretty straightforward 2D platformers, but honestly I would have preferred to have a 3D brawler much like the cartoon The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy got. Inspired by games like Power Stone on the Sega Dreamcast, I believe given the show's extensive cast of superheroes and villains, it would have made for a fun game. So for a show that had a lot going for it, why did it get cancelled after 26 episodes? I'll let you know that and more after the commercial break.
More adventures with Manny are coming your way. Mas El Tigre is next on Nicktoons. Bueno!
Hi, I'm Sarah Mc...
Remember when Disney tried to trademark Dia de los Muertos? Anyways, the reason El Tigre was cancelled so early was because of SpongeBob. Not directly, but let me explain. This is a painting by Jorge, titled Ese Mi Bob. It's part of a series of paintings about Western pop culture through the eyes of Jorge. This one happens to have some deeper context, and in the book Border Bang, Jorge writes, "I love this cartoon, but hate that all other cartoons' ratings at Nickelodeon are compared to it. There's a cemetery full of graves with all the cartoon characters that have fallen to this cartoon killer." To make matters worse, near the end of the show's run, Nick dumped the remaining episodes on their other channel, Nicktoons, where they sabotaged their ratings by airing the show at absurd hours of the day. As it turns out, life finds a way, and El Tigre getting cancelled eventually led to Jorge pitching the Book of Life to Real FX, a 20th Century Fox-owned company, which is now owned by Disney. The Book of Life was the concept that Jorge was pitching all the way back after graduating from CalArts. To finally see it get released was amazing, because it was around this time that I became very interested in Jorge and Sandra's work.
What is it with Mexicans and death?
They also drop references to the show from time to time. Despite El Tigre being cancelled for years, it's still a huge inspiration to see Jorge and Sandra continue their art. Currently, the two are working at Netflix on a show titled Maya and the Three. It's too early in development to tell what this show will be about, but I can see the Mayan influence in its concept art alone. It's also worth mentioning that Netflix and Nickelodeon have collaborated to premiere some of their cartoons on the streaming platform, so there's still a chance that El Tigre could potentially come back. But to be honest, I don't see that happening anytime soon. The two are hard at work creating new content, and I for one cannot wait until it comes out. I can't find the tweet, but I remember someone asking Jorge how Manny got the scar on his face, which he replied with something along the lines of, it was an accident after shortly getting his powers. Manny realized then how his powers can be dangerous, and this is a pretty mature moment. The show was a lot of things, but it rarely had mature moments. But if the show were to continue, I would like to see these aspects explored more. This show meant a lot to me growing up, and was one of the few times I got to see someone on screen who looked like me. And although my name wasn't Manny, I saw a lot of myself on the show. As cheesy as it sounds, Sandra and Jorge are big heroes of mine, and their work continues to inspire me to this day.
Rivera men, assemble! You with me?
We are Riveras. Good or evil, we will go down fighting. You can do it, El Tigre! I believe in you! You are a Rivera!